everybody. I'm going to say that I really wanted to dive into this Thoth topic. Okay. Probably from the thumbnail or the title or whatever. You know we're talking about colors today. Now, I thought that this was going to be easy. I thought that this was going to be so simple because some of the colors that are in some of the cards, you're like, oh, you know, that's associated with fire. No wonder it's red. Yeah, that's not how it works. So I don't even know how long this is going to be, and I'm not going to go over every single thing, but I will leave some reference materials for you to check out down below that I used that have been helpful, but didn't exactly clear all the fog away when it comes to this topic. What I'm going to go over today is just what I have been able to ascertain in all of these resource materials I've been studying. Now, when I look in, y'all know that I like to reference the Book of Thoth, okay? But when you thumb through that, it really doesn't talk about colors except for in the very, very back in like his appendixes. And there's like a color chart. And he doesn't really go into what all those colors represent, what they mean, nothing. So I had to go on my own journey. I did look in Understanding the Thoth Tarot by Lon Milo Duquette. He has those same charts and kind of goes into them, but I got the feeling that I don't know if he has a grasp of it or not, but it was so much more, after researching it, I found it to be so much more complicated than even Lon put it. And he was pretty good about taking the Book of Thoth and making it to where people could understand it better. I guess to shine some light on some of the secrets in it that Crowley was trying to keep. So what I've effectively done here in this very first stage is I'm going to go over the very first amount of color that each card will have. Refer you to my Tree of Life video. It's pretty long, but I go over all the Sephiras and all the paths on the Tree of Life. So that kind of could be like video 1 to this, because the Tree of Life has such a powerful, the colors on the Tree of Life are they're so convoluted that to have an inkling of the Tree of Life in general is probably going to be your best bet. According to all the resources, the Golden Dawn has what they consider 4 scales of color. And that's in everything. That is in the Tree of Life. That is in the elements, the zodiac, or like, you know, any astrological symbols are based off of the 4 worlds, they call them. And the 4 scales of color are effectively called King, Queen, Prince, or Princess. And I've even heard King, Queen, Emperor, Empress. I wanted to just kind of give you an inkling of how complicated the color in the deck is. I mean, initially when you thumb through the deck, it looks like beautiful. Each card is a beautiful piece of art that I would actually love to have an original painting of and hang it up in my house, right? But to know that it's the color that they put into each card has so many references, it's almost a scary thing. Like when I thought about, here's all the colors, but then not just these colors, you have more colors that I'm going to pull out in a minute. Just having each card have these amount of colors is scary to think that, oh, this color actually means something. It's not just put in there for aesthetic, you know. Now, I want you to notice something about these trees of life. Again, go watch my Tree of Life video, but you know that this is Keter, and we zigzag down to Malkuth. Okay, Keter is the Godhead, the divine light, and then Malkuth is the realm of earth. The King scale represents like the essence of divinity. It's like the primary expression of the Godhead. That's the King. So I kind of think in my research, I kind of thought of the King, and I think Lon makes this simile as well. The King is like a prism. Like the translucent, beautiful, it's not emitting any color because the light's not shining in there. It's just the prism itself and the divineness of that. And that white brilliance goes through all 4 scales of the color. And those represent the aces. All the Sephiras represent a number. To Kether, to Chokmah, to Banah, all the way down to Malkuth, those are the numbered cards. So that would be the minor arcana. And then the paths, okay, there's 22 paths. That's the major arcana. Like I said, the king color is pretty much like translucent color. I consider this color before it's a color, because we all know that color is just an element of light. So if the king is translucent, then the queen is like reflective. So light's actually shining in the prism now, and it's emitting that very first color, that first exalted color, which we'll get into in a minute. And look how different they are. Like, if you are reflected or refracting red, when the hell does it turn black? So it really made me think about color theory and how Lon Milo tells you to get out all of the watercolors. There's 190 from Winsor and Newton that are potential colors. And that's kind of how the Golden Dawn represents color. It's like you put all colors on a palette, and then they're able to mix and balance and all of that. Then there's complementary, tertiary. It's just, there's so much going on with the color wheel itself here that even as an artist and as like a creator and painter and someone who has actually studied this is still pretty hard stuff to grasp, because I have no idea how red turns to black. But we're going with it. Another thing that they kind of say about this is that these are like the primary exaltations of color. So all of these are colors like blue and purple and orange. Those aren't translucent colors. But if you think about stained glass, and if I were to shine a light out of a church window, you know, if we shine that light out of that stained glass, what's being reflected on the ground? Are those actual colors? You know, right? So, and are they mixed with something? Are they mixed with the color? Like if the sky is really, really blue that day, then what's the color on the ground going to be? So I kind of had to think of it that way. And then we get to the Prince scale, which is the actual mixture of both of these. So it's this color and this color makes this color. And these have actual names, like I said. When you refer back to the Winsor & Newton list of colors, if you mix red-orange with dark red-orange, you get this scarlet color. Not really crimson, which is up here, but like a dark scarlet. It's not even red yet. None of these are like actual red, yellow. None of them are that way. And like I said, that can be pretty scary. Some of the paths are flecked. They call that flecked. When a color is got a base color and then it's like etched like this, and if you already are versed with the Thoth, you know that that's in a lot of the cards. So that's actually representing something, which you wouldn't think if you're just thumbing through, right? You're like, oh, she did some cutesy little yods on her card. Nope. She's actually representing a path or a Sephira with that. And I thought that is so heavy and beautiful that I had no idea that this has actually taken me 3 weeks just to get this information to you guys, and I'm not even going over all of it. So if you are interested in something like this, I encourage you to look up this. I'm going to leave, this is actually a file, a paper that, not drawn, but it's actually computer generated, that I'll leave in a file for you from my Google Drive that you can like print out and do with what you will. So anyway, like I said, the Prince or the Emperor scale is just a mixture of these two. That's it. That's all its purpose is. And then we get to the Empress scale. It's like a denigration. It calls it a denigration. So they go through. So you start with this and then you get this somehow. By having the pairing makes this new color. right? So if you add the king to the queen, she's not her own color anymore because they've been mixed, because they're a partnership now. So it made this color, which in turn makes a baby and makes this color. But then you get this, which is essentially complementary attributions. So see how this is red flecked green? It's this color, but it's flecked with green, which means that this is going to be the king and queen one day. This is actually symbolizing what I've been talking about in the court cards, that the king marries the queen, they have a prince who has to gain the princess to then become these two. That's the whole, like, the cycle of life. So this, I don't know what you would call this color, red flecked with red orange, dark red orange, flecked with green, would be her mixing with the prince. Not yet here yet. This is just their two colors. I did notice a huge thing about partnership. When dealing with colors, it actually does not matter what colors you choose for each sithra or path in the tree of life, but there needs to, if you have a color, it needs to have a partner. So say I want this mauve color, I need that blue. Or any other color I would like to pair with that, and then I need to keep it that way. Because the tree of life and the golden dawn, or the tree of life as with the golden dawn, they are highly, it's highly important to them to keep the balance of the masculine and feminine together at all times. And that you can't have the king scale without the queen. It's just not going to happen in the natural world. And that's system thinking too. So that's the tree of life in a nutshell. These four colors, so this, and this, for this Sephira in the cards that it represents. So this is Binah, okay, the number 3. So all of the threes, all 4 of the threes will have all 4 of these colors. But wait, there's more, okay? Then we have this monstrosity, this setup. Now, as I said before, the king is purely exalted. So think of this as prism-esque, okay? Beautiful translucent colors that are actual colors, but they're still that the purest form of their color. And the king is actually archetypal. So it's not really manifest. And each king, has nothing to do with the tree of life. I want you to think of those 4 separate. Then we add these colors. And there's 4 colors for the elements. Now there aren't earth elements until we get to the last scale, which is the princess. Because as the golden dawn, as it goes with the golden dawn, the earth isn't an archetype. It's a manifested purely at the last thing. Earth is like the last thing. And everything before that is or just manifest. It's called balance, which means that on the Roy G. Biv, green is the middle color. That's what that means. And green represents Libra. It represents balance in all of its forms, all shades of green. As we go along, I've noticed that. Fire, water, not spirit ether, but air in an archetypal way isn't actual like the air we breathe. It's something different. So we go through and we have like these beautiful, as I said, all these Roy G. Biv type bright, brilliant colors for all 12 of the zodiac. And then we have planets down here. Now, the reason that there's both is that we have a zodiac, but then it has a ruler planet, which would be one of these. Like Aries is ruled by Mars. They're both the same color in the king scale. They're going to be different in other scales. And we'll get to that when we get to our example cards as well. Look how beautiful and vibrant these are. And I did this myself. So these colors aren't actual renditions. I just use these color pencils. But they're really, really close as far as I could tell when getting on the resource materials I'll leave below. And tried to map it out all by myself. So we'll see. But then I want you to look at this. Here's the queen scale. Now this is the pre-manifest, right before everything in all this has been manifested, right before is the creative mode. The purely masculine is the logical, right? And the purely feminine is the creative. Now, they have no elements for the Queen scale, but Crowley in Liber 777, he puts associations on the elements as feelings, not as colors. And though, like, he wants us to remember these feelings when we deal with these elements if they're associated with a card. So hot and dry, cold and dry, hot and wet, and cold and wet for all 4 of these elements. But when you look at these look really, these are like mineral colors. And like moon is silver, sun is gold. They're kind of like alchemy. I thought these are alchemical colors. White flecked with silver, black, olive green, rich brown, mauve, plum. These are all like alchemical colors that we are associating with that pre-manifested thing. We're like making something, but it's not actually been made yet. And that was fascinating studying this. Like I said, I've done this myself, so hopefully I'm trying to shed as much light as I can on this so you can really get a feel for it. We come to the Prince, which, as I said before, is a mixture of the 2 before. And they call this formative. So this is manifested. This is actually manifested things. So, and it was really cool to think of in the Prince scale that the air would be this olive color. Because when you look, it's like this pale yellow mixed with hot and wet. I think, oh, okay. Hot and wet, I think of moss, right? Like jungle moss. And that's probably why that hot and wet air is like the jungle. Not moss, but like how heavy and humid that air is in that jungle. That's probably why they picked green. Again, I'm not versed with the Golden Dawn, so when making those associations, it's really hard for me because I'm a studier of the Thoth deck without having any kind of Golden Dawn background, so it's been pretty tough. Now this says this is manifested but diluted. Well, what the hell does that mean? As you can see with the princess suit, these are all rayed, and then all these have a good solid diluted color, which means we take, just for an example, we take the prince, which, as I said, is the mixture, and then we dilute that. Now, in paint theory, like in color theory, when I want to make a diluted color, I'll mix its complementary color with it. So if I mixed purple and yellow, it would make gray because they're complementary colors. And it would make rich grays, depending on whether you want cool or warm. And I thought about doing this in paint, so that, like on my palette, so that you could see, but my palette is, you would never be able to ascertain anything from my palette. It's so dirty. And then it was so fun with this too, because this is the last scale. And I thought, okay, well, the spirit, which has manifested and then diluted itself, because it's like spirit on earth, is like a party. This is like confetti. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah. If spirit was down here, then that's what it would be. And then actually, these are switched. So fire is red flecked gold, and then air is actually green flecked gold. And water, it says, is iridescent purple, so it's like mother of pearl. And I thought, wow, that is. Because if you dilute, what's water on Prince scale? This teal color, right? So we've got water, which is brilliant blue, and then we've gotten the feeling of being cold and dry, right? Cold and dry. And then how all of those three mix together and then diluted in a way makes this brilliant iridescent purple was fascinating. What you have to effectively do is first, you have to take a card, and we're going to look at some examples, so don't worry. You have to take a card and find what its tree of life attribution is, and put those 4 colors down. And then you have to say, okay, well, what is its element? Actually, that's not even where I would go first. I would go to the zodiac first. Like say, okay, it's an Aries, which is ruled by Mars. And then I would have to put those 2 together. So that's 12 colors then. So 12 plus 4 is 16 colors a card. And I've seen some cards that don't look like they have 16 colors. Now I wanted to get, and I did want to like actually talk about some cards that looked like they had a lot of color going on. So we've got the Hierophant on the Tree of Life. He is Shokma to Hesed, which is this little guy. Let's pull him out of there so you can see this little guy right here. That's his path. So that's red, navy, I'm sorry, a deep olive, and a rich brown. Well, let's look at here. I'm seeing a lot of orange, like this red-orange color. And then all along, like back behind him is this navy color, which is the queen color. And it makes sense that the king and queen would be the most, I guess I could say the most popular colors in this card, because they're the first 2. And then we have this olive color, which is actually all 4 statues' color. When you really look at the card, that's like this deep olive, like this warm olive color. And then you have this rich brown, they call it, which are the bulls. Which are these, well, not just the bull, but this bull and this elephant. Maybe the wands too. And we're not even done. Like, then we have the king, right? Now he's Taurus, so he's Taurus, which is an earth sign, a fixed earth sign, which is ruled by the planet Venus. So, that would mean that he's Taurus, Venus, and balance. And we could leave balance out if we had to. Well, when you look, there may be some green on the edges of like the bull and things. There's definitely some green in here. Then we get to the queen scale, right? Which, if we're adding the element, he's cold and wet. Again, he's Taurus, so there's that blue color again. Let's pull that up here. And then this actual like sky blue, not really sky blue, more of a purpley light blue for Venus. And that's probably in her and the blue glaze of this sacred geometry shape. Then we have the Prince scale. And we're not going to look at a whole bunch of these, okay? Which we're leaving the element out. This, again, this deep blue. And Venus is this like pale green, which is like almost like a seaweed color. And I see that her braids are actually green. Like they're outlined in that pale green color. And we might see some green other places. I think that that's why this deck is such a great scrying tool, because if you really meditated on all of this, on all these colors, it would be so profound almost. I mean, it's just insane. Okay, so let's get into some aces here. I'm just going to show you one. And then we'll get into the minors, because we're taking a long time, people. But what I want to go over with the ace is that, or what I want to show you. We already know, this being the discs / pentacles, that it would be the earth suit, right? So of course there would be some greens and some browns. But when we look at the Tree of Life, all 4 scales of Keter are white brilliance, right? So it's like, okay, well, what does that mean? But that's why I said you can't stop at just the Tree of Life. Because if we did, then all the aces would be white and flecked with gold. So we do have to effectively do all the other scales, which, let's just say it is an earth suit. Okay, so that would be balanced, so that's green. But then it also is of the number 6, or the sun in this case, that's the 6th zodiac, sixth planet is the sun, which we can kind of see, but it's more of a orange rust, like the orange that's these lines. That can be all it is. Even this amber color for the sun. And then finally the princess. And we get a lot of rich reds and browns and like this dark mauve. And I see that in all of the lines around these, I call these helicopters. These like pine things that fly off the trees. So when we think of the aces, I want you to think that they're all the aces are going to have 3 zodiac symbols, which are going to be ruled by one planet or the other. And then it might have an element, like see this is actually air, but it's green flecked with gold, and you can see that really heavily in here. Okay, so let's get into some what I would probably consider easier ones, okay? Now we're still going to look at the king, we're still going to look at all the 4 scales, but let's look at some minor arcana. Okay, here we go. This is the 2 of discs. The 2 of cups. When we think of the tree of life, okay, that's the 2s. So let's move this out of the way. The 2s are here. So here, 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 and here. So what the 2s effectively are is shokma, okay? But it's the masculine force. Like this is the masculine pillar, but it's the very first masculine force that balances out the feminine of the Brana, or of Brana. And so we have an idea of like the harmonious balance here. That's what all of this is. So we have this sky blue, which I'm not portraying it right, but that's this color, the background color, right? Then we have this gray color, which again can be the water, this iridescent. Crowley, not to get too technical, but this queen state, the female state of Chokma, is the color of semen. That's Crowley's exact words. So, and then we have this like dark, almost black. Again, that could be the outlines of things. And then we have this flecked, which is spirit, in this case, in princess. Now, we don't see a lot of flexion here, but we might find it somewhere else, okay? So here's the king state. Now, as far as this goes, the astrology of this is actually said on the card. So it says on the card, it says on every minor arcana, has a little symbol, 2 symbols, of what the zodiac and the planet ruler are. So in this case, that's Cancer and Venus. Cancer here is amber, and Venus down here is green, right here. Well, we see the green and the amber in the lotus flower. We see the amber a lot in this card because those are the 2 main, like the first decan is Cancer ruled by Venus. So that makes a lot of sense that as a 2, it's like that first manifest of the masculine and feminine. It would make the most sense that these colors would be exalted even more. So then we're going to get to the queens, which is this plum color with this blue color. Again, that's the same color of the other king state. And then we have, like I said, this plum color, which we kind of see in this cup down here. Not really as amber as this, it's a little bit darker. And let's see if we can find anything in the prince and princess states of these. Again, there's that pinkish amber. This is actually a red amber, which is actually the bottom of the fish. That's the exact color. And then we come down here to Venus, which is this pale green, which is this, the sea. And what they've effectively done here is they've mixed these 2 colors and made this watercolor. We come to the princess, which is diluted. Venus is here, which is pink and green. Well, that's a whole bunch of that in this card. And then Cancer, which is here, which is a brownish green color. Again, that could be the color of the cups. This golden color is actually what this color actually looks like in real life, like a rusted kind of a copper color. So it's so interesting how we can see all these colors in these cards. Now, this being a 10, it's pretty much like an exaltation of all of them. That's why there's like a tree of life here. Again, that's kind of like the Rider-Waite. There's a tree of life in the Rider-Waite as well. On the tree of life, it is associated with Malkuth. Now, let's move this out of the way, and I'll show you Malkuth. Malkuth is this bottom right here. That's all the 10s. Now, as you can see, some of them are like mixtures of colors, and that's because Malkuth is all of the 4 elements, scales, all of it all together. It's just like a conglomeration of all of it. And you can see there's yellow, which is the coins. And then we have rust, yellow, olive, and black. Well, we see that in the background. Almost in the background, I would say. When you really scry with this, you can really start to see some black and rusts in the very bottom of this card. Like, think about this in 3D, that would be the bottom. And you can even kind of see the rays, too. Like, this would be emitting light. Then that's what this would look like. Let's keep going here. Now, its zodiac sign is Mercury, which is Virgo, ruled by Mercury. Okay? So let's put that here so y'all can see it. So Virgo is green, which are the outlines of all the coins, which is ruled by Mercury, which is down here, which is yellow. Again, we have a lot of yellow and green. Now, all the symbols all the symbols in this have a sign of Mercury in some form, except for the 8th Cythera. This is 9. So the 8th Cythera, which is just a hexagram. So then we're going to keep going to the Queen. Okay. Again, we're looking at Virgo and Mercury. So Virgo is right here, which is this like ugly green color. And then Mercury is purple. We see a lot of purple in this card. And see, we haven't seen any purple up until now, up until this stage. So that's pretty cool. Then the Prince, okay, which is again another like olivey green. And Mercury, which is a gray color right here. Which if you mix purple with gray, you get these diluted right here. That's why these two are like a diluted gray, because that's the color of Mercury in the Prince stage. And finally for this card, we get to the Princess. And I hope this isn't too art project-y for y'all. Now, right here we have navy flecked with, or rayed with violet. And for Virgo, we have plum. We see a lot of plums and violets. And see this right here, this blue, is probably a nod to this Mercury. So, we only have 2 more people. This is one of my favorite cards in the deck. Now, there's a lot of conflicting or complementary, I'll say, colors in here with the yellow and red, and then, or with the red and the green. So let's just see what we can find out as far as astrological and tree of life. So here's the tree of life, and that's right here. The 4s are right here. So here, 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 and here. So we have violet, sky blue, maroon. This is actually maroon, not a plum. They're 2 different colors. And then this is like a silver flecked with blue. Well, we don't see any silver flecked with blue, but remember, by the time we get to the Princess stage, there may not be the color is in there, but it might not be to our eyes because that's so diluted. So let's start with the purple. Well, I don't really see any purple offhand, but I do see the outlines of the ram heads are in this like deep maroon color, but I do see that. And I sort of see the blue too. So it's like the rams are outlined in a plum and the doves are outlined in this like silvery blue color. Makes a lot of sense. So then let's get to the astrological symbols, which is Aries and Venus. Okay, well, Aries is red and Venus, which is green. Wow. Didn't see that one coming, did we? Again, when you want to know the astrological symbols of the card, they're on the cards already. Venus and Aries. Let's keep going to the Queen stage, see what we can find. Because we're always finding really cool colors here. here's Venus, which is a blue. Again, we're noticing some blue outlines in some of those cards. And Aries is this salmon color. Well, when we look really, really close, the salmon color isn't actually salmon. It's more the way that this red complements. So that's cool. Prince. Get to the princess stage. Aries is this like orangey color, which we see in the fire here. And then this Venus is like a pale green. Well, it's not really a pale green, but it's like right here. They tried to make it to where this wheel thing was coming off of the card. And I think that they used this pale green to make it look like that. And then finally the princess. Again, you might not be able to see anything. It's this deep red and pink and green. Well, we don't see any pink and green, but it doesn't mean it's not there. It doesn't mean it's like under these reds, these vibrant reds. That doesn't mean that. We might still be able to see all that. Okay. Last one. And I love this card because it's kind of like a nod to the beast. Now, on the Tree of Life, the 5s are connected to Give a Ra, which are located... Okay, let's move him out of the way. Which are located right here. Here, here, and here. That's a whole bunch of orange. I don't see any orange in this card. Do you? Now, like I said, this is the king stage, so this should be what's most prominent in this card. But we haven't gotten to the astrological things either. And Crowley may think that the Tree of Life might not be the most important part of this particular card. He uses other associations as well. But for the purpose of this video, we've got orange, red orange, scarlet, and scarlet flecked green. Well, there's a whole bunch of flecking going on, but mostly I see this mauve color and these plums and this green and the blue in all the background. So let's see if we can find that in the other scales. Now, you probably won't be able to tell on this card unless you're really looking for it, but this is Aquarius and Venus. It's a lot of water, isn't it? A lot of water. It's like the Birth of Venus painting in this one card. That's what I think of. So here's Venus. It's this brilliant green, which we already saw in the card. And then Aquarius, which is this brilliant purple, like a brilliant, actually, violet. Which, this green we see here, and this actual purple we see right here. It's actually that same color. It's pretty cool, huh? I do want to say one thing about this card before we move on to the other scales, is that Venus and Aquarius are at odds because Venus rules Taurus, which is an earth sign, but here in this card it is an air sign. So they're almost like fighting for who's going to win, and I believe that that could be why the card looks so convoluted. So it's almost like Earth is trying to battle air to see which one's going to win, but Venus is a lover, so she ain't fighting at all. And Aquarius is a rebel because it's ruled by Uranus, so, and is a fighter for everything. So there's a whole bunch going on with this card, and like I said, there should be some air and some balance in this, which we see. We see that they kind of pale out the green to represent both here, and the pale yellow is actually doing this hexagram shape. So let's move on to see what the queens can say. Now again, Aquarius, which is this brilliant blue. Again, some of these aren't purple-ish, but they can be blue or purple because of the way that the complementary colors sit on top of those blues. They could be either the king or the queen in this case. And then Venus down here is kind of the same blue, but more of a purple. And we definitely see that in the background. We don't even have to look. We're not even really looking, people. It's just already there for us. So here's the prince. Look at this. See this mauve color? It's more of a dark mauve, like whatever that would be, because mauve isn't a dark color. But if you darken mauve up, that's what this is in the prince stage, and that's all this. All of this. Then, of course, we get down here to Venus, which is like a form of like a mixture, which is this pale green color, and that's all down here. All this pale, like muted green is all in these swastika like shapes. And then finally the princess stage, which is pink and green down here with Venus. Here is an iridescent purple. Well, we're definitely seeing some iridescent purple like in these shapes out here and in the very center. This actually isn't gray. When I really studied this card, this is like a mother of pearl type of a color, which I believe is what they're trying to convey in the princess stage of the zodiac. And then there's pink and green, which I believe that they're trying to use like rose petals or stones or whatever the hell these things are supposed to be, or even the handles of the swords themselves. Well, I hope that this was informative and I hope it was fun. Please check out all the reference material below if you are interested in this type of thing and studying it further. And let me know how it goes. Much love.